You get in the truck after it's been sitting out in the sun for hours. You crank that AC up full blast expecting instant relief, and what comes out is warm, weak air that takes forever to actually get cold. That's not bad luck, and it's definitely not a factory defect. Most of the time, it's you, making a mistake that a huge chunk of drivers make every single day without even realizing it. And the worst part isn't just sweating through your shirt on the drive. The worst part is, without knowing it, you could be cutting the lifespan of some expensive parts in that system way short, and putting extra strain on the whole thing, especially the compressor, which by itself is one of the priciest parts to replace in your entire AC system. Today I'm going to walk you through the most common mistakes guys make running their car's air conditioning, some of them pretty obvious, others that almost nobody talks about, and the right way to turn it on, adjust it, and maintain it so it blows colder and lasts you a lot longer. If tips like this help you save some money at the shop, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because that's what keeps this kind of content coming your way. Number 1. Thermal shock to the compressor. This is probably the number one mistake out there. The vehicle sits parked in the sun, sometimes for hours, and the inside temperature can climb well past 120 degrees, especially in trucks with dark leather seats or no window tint. The second you climb in, your gut instinct is to crank the AC straight to max, hoping to fix the discomfort as fast as possible. The problem is, right at that moment, the system has to overcome a massive temperature gap between the hot air trapped inside the cabin and the temperature you're actually trying to hit. That forces the compressor to work under maximum pressure from the first second, with zero gradual warm-up, and that's something any mechanical part struggles with when it's pushed to the limit cold, right out of the gate. Over time, that constant strain wears down the internal components, dries out the seals, and quietly shortens the compressor's lifespan, no warning at all, until the day it just quits on you. The fix is way simpler than it sounds. Roll the windows down first, let that hot air escape for a few seconds, ideally while you're still backing out of the driveway, and only then turn the AC on, starting at the lowest fan speed. This habit takes the load off the whole system, and here's the kicker, it actually gets the cabin cold faster than if you'd blasted it on max right away, because the system isn't fighting against a pocket of trapped hot air anymore. Number 2. Using recirculation at the wrong time. A lot of guys leave recirculation on all the time, figuring it cools the cabin faster and saves on gas mileage. But running that button constantly builds up moisture inside the system, mainly because the air just keeps circulating through the same closed space with no fresh air coming in. That's basically a recipe for mold to grow on the evaporator, a part that's tucked away behind the dash, and once it's contaminated, it's expensive and a real pain to clean out. That's actually what causes that musty, wet gym sock smell you get when you turn the AC on after the truck's been sitting for a while. Recirculation should really kick in once the air inside the cabin is already cold, working as a way to hold that temperature without forcing the system to keep cooling down hot outside air the whole time. If the inside is still hot, you're better off letting outside air in for a few minutes before hitting that button, the one that usually has a little icon of a car with an arrow looping around inside it. Number 3. Shutting off the engine before shutting off the AC. Sounds like a small thing, but this habit causes serious premature wear, especially on the compressor. When you shut the engine off with the AC still running, the system stays pressurized because the compressor stops spinning all at once, right in the middle of the refrigerant compression cycle. Next time you start the truck, that same compressor gets hit with a heavy load all at once, having to kick back into gear already under pressure, with no smooth transition at all. The right move is to always switch off the AC a few seconds before you kill the engine, giving the system time to equalize the pressure internally. That takes the load off the whole assembly and helps stretch out the compressor's life, plus it reduces the strain on the belt or the electrical system, depending on how the AC is set up on your particular vehicle. Number 4. Thinking the AC only cools the air. Air conditioning isn't just for dropping the temperature, it also pulls the moisture out of the cabin, working like a natural dehumidifier the whole time it's running. When the system isn't working right, or when it's barely used, your windows fog up a lot easier, especially on rainy or cold days. Weird smells start coming from all that built up moisture, and the overall comfort of driving drops off, even on days that aren't all that hot. A lot of guys don't realize this either, but the AC is actually a key tool for clearing your windshield fast, since it pulls the moisture out of the air before sending that airflow up onto the glass. Number 5. Forgetting about the cabin air filter. The cabin air filter's job is making sure the air flows properly through the system before it reaches you. When it's dirty or clogged up, efficiency drops off a cliff, the evaporator can actually freeze over from lack of proper airflow, and the compressor ends up working way harder than it needs to make up for that loss. A good rule of thumb is to check that filter every 6,000 to 10,000 miles, depending on where you usually park the vehicle, and more often if you're in a dusty area or near a construction site. Number 6. Leaving the AC off all winter. This is one of those mistakes almost nobody talks about, but it causes a ton of damage down the road. A lot of guys just stop using the AC during the colder months, figuring since they don't need to cool the cabin, there's no reason to turn the system on. The problem is, the compressor needs to spin regularly to keep the lubricating oil circulating through the whole system, including the rubber seals that keep the refrigerant from leaking out. When the compressor sits idle for months at a time, those seals dry out, lose their flexibility, and that's exactly when the small refrigerant leaks start, often silent ones, that you don't notice until summer rolls back around and the AC just isn't blowing cold like it should anymore. So even in the dead of winter, it's worth flipping the AC on for a few minutes, at least once a week, just to keep the system lubricated and those seals in good shape. Number 7. Ignoring the refrigerant level. Unlike what a lot of guys think, AC refrigerant isn't like gasoline, getting used up gradually with normal driving. In a healthy system with no leaks, the refrigerant level should basically stay stable for years. The problem is, small leaks, often caused by the exact mistakes I already covered here, slowly drain that refrigerant down, and the driver only notices once the AC is already blowing a lot less cold than it used to. What a lot of guys don't know is, driving around with low refrigerant is actually worse than not running the AC at all, because the compressor ends up working almost bone dry, without the proper lubrication that the refrigerant itself carries through the system, and that speeds up the internal wear on that part big time. So if you notice the AC is taking longer to get cold, or just isn't blowing as cold as it used to, it's worth taking it to a shop you trust to check the refrigerant level before the problem turns into a full compressor replacement. There's a few signs that tell you your AC's already got a problem. The air takes way too long to get cold, there's a strange smell when you first turn the system on, the compressor's making weird noises, like a squealing or a rattling sound, the system only cools while the vehicle's moving, or you notice a gradual loss of power when the AC's running, especially going uphill or sitting in stop-and-go traffic. Any one of these is reason enough to get it looked at before the problem turns into something a lot more expensive to fix, because in most cases, what starts out as a small detail ends up as a full compressor replacement, and that's one of the priciest parts in the whole AC system. To sum up the right way to run it, the logic's pretty simple. Vent the hot air out before turning the system on, only switch on recirculation once the cabin's already cold, shut off the AC before you kill the engine, keep the system running all year round, even in winter, check that cabin air filter regularly, and stay alert to any drop in performance that might point to a refrigerant leak. At the end of the day, what really hurts with this kind of issue isn't the price of the part itself, it's the fact that most owners don't notice the problem until the AC's already completely stopped blowing cold. And by that point, the repair usually costs a whole lot more than it would have with some preventive maintenance. And that's exactly the point that splits opinion the most among guys who work on cars. Some swear preventive maintenance is a waste of money. Others say that's exactly what saves you from the big bill down the road. Would you rather spend a little now being proactive, or just deal with it when the problem actually shows up? And if you want to get a better handle on saving money on your vehicle's maintenance, check out the video popping up on your screen right now. I guarantee it'll help you dodge a costly repair.